she was just by coming. And when I tell you all to say this, and some of y'all really don't get it yet, everybody in here is a gift for somebody. You don't know who get a lift just by looking at you, seeing you smile. Amen. And stop being a distraction and start being a gift. Okay, all right, all right. So tonight, I, we're blessed, and I'm gonna let Laji talk for himself. When I found out he was gonna be in town, and he's here now, getting somebody in place, to do some things in prison to help. Really gonna help a whole lot of guys, and I'm gonna let him tell his story. He came, he stopped by one time. He was in Valdosta somewhere, but I want to let him tell you what God has done and is doing for him and what he can do for you, and as much of his testimony as he chooses to give. He didn't ask me could he come. I asked him to come because somebody's watching. If not, somebody in here can be blessed by just knowing what God has done for somebody. Because a lot of times you don't know who you're sitting by. Amen. You don't know who you're nearby, and and that's why I be trying to get you to understand. Treat everybody right, cause you don't never know. You don't never know. Amen. So, Sister Irene, you can bring in his own way. Laji, I want you to come and just talk to us tonight. And as he comes, give God a hand praise. His name is Laji Ruffin. God bless you,
How y'all doing? As always, it's definitely an honor and privilege. Because Chaplain Flynn, he means so much to me and many men and families. You know, the thing about it, when I look back and see be fruitful and multiply, you know, one thing that stuck with me with Chaplain Flynn was saying that, the word spread because they took it out of Jerusalem, right? And we have to think about that. They just didn't say this was for us, that we have to take this out into the world to multiply. So, a little bit about my story, because what made me think when I just take it back to the news and I'm just seeing so many young people dying by suicide and by gun violence and at times, where the news put it, they make it an epidemic. You just kind of just like, is it any help? So at times I have to dig into my own story because I remember just looking at my grandson and I'm just looking at him and I'm like, and I was just truly afraid of what his life is going to be upon, to the point that I remember when I used to just run up and down the street and I wouldn't even let my grandson get past the front porch without me standing there. And then that's when I realized I knew it's a problem. So within me, I didn't really understand what was really going on with me when I was a young. Didn't really understand that something was wrong within me. In today's society, we talk about mental health and we really talk about it and we give names to a lot of things. But back when I was growing up, I didn't even know what the name was. I just knew something was not correctly right with me. Very angry, very hurt, looking just to blame anything and just how I didn't even know really how to, as they say, to cry for help. And that winded me in a lot of trouble because I just didn't really know how at the particular time how to even ask for help. Because I came within a culture that boys couldn't cry. We couldn't show no sign of weakness. We couldn't say anything because the first thing they say is, "Quit, you weak. You acting like a woman." But then when I had to think about it, I said the most strongest person I know is my mama. So that was kind of contradicted, but he just kept saying it. So it allowed me to hold things within me. And here it is, at a young man trying to go through and went to college, got accepted at Fort Valley State, and then a lot of bad turns happened within my life. And all I know was here it is, a teenager standing in front of a judge. And he said, I'm going to give you a life sentence. And I didn't really understand what was that. I just looking at him, starry-eyed. And I'm looking at my lawyer, and he's looking at me. And he just said, you're going into a system. Here is a system that I didn't even really know where I was going. But all I know was here it is. I was on my way to Smith State Prison with a life sentence and not really understanding what was really going on with me. And I was just very angry at the time. But here it is. I'm just milling my way through. And next thing I know, I ran into Chaplain Flynn. And here it is, this big, tall person looking at me. And all I'm looking back at him and like, what you looking at me for? And he tells this story all the time when he really seen something in me that I didn't really see in myself. And he was really trying to encourage me to really want you try to do some things to try to get your mind off of what you're going through. Just think about this. Just try. I just need you to just try to slow down a little bit so you can really understand what we're really, so you can tell me so I know how. Because you know how when we go to the doctor don't really know unless you tell it. And if you can't tell him, the doctor's not really going to know. So he said, won't you try to get your mind and go work on the detail? And the first thing I said, what? Work in the detail? For free? No, man. I ain't finna do that. And all I know was I was just angry. But this is the interesting thing, because I really wanted to tell him a whole lot of stuff. Like, I think you really trying me. But something within his eyes, it was a caring eyes that I haven't really seen, that really stopped for me to just pause. And within that pause, I pivot. And all I know was that I was coming to church service. Here it is that I was practicing a whole nother faith at the time. But something drew me. And here it is that I didn't have my parents. But here it is that a man that was willing to share his family with us. He don't know me. He didn't know us. But he was willing to share his family. His mom became my mom. His father became my father. Couldn't really reach out and touch and really hug, but the love that was presented within it, but through in songs, and as I was just sitting there and listening to the testimony, listen to the song, I just kept flashbacking to that particular moment that I pivot. And within the pivot, a lot of things start happening because now I could sit down with him and tell him, this is what's going on with me. And he can really get me the things necessary, and the people around me, the individuals that you've seen that had the 5 life sentences, the 3 life sentences that came out. These were the individuals that was around me as a young man, talking to me and telling me, be fruitful and multiply. Here's the word that is multiplying, and a whole community is benefiting from it. To fast forward it, after I'm understanding what's going on with me and getting what I need, here it is that not only my faith is increasing, but now I'm getting into things to help me on my journey. So now, here it is, I'm getting into classes. I'm getting into, they didn't have education programs a lot within the prison system, so the library became my education. First thing, had to learn how to speak. I spoke a lot of slang words, a lot of cuss words, but I had to understand it and listen. You see what I'm saying? Had to listen, had to slow down and listen to people instead of getting mad. I think you trying me. Listening to individuals, hey man, you hurt just like I am. So now I'm gonna give you what Chaplain Flynn gave me. I'm gonna distract you enough so you can slow down and really pivot. Because this is the thing. It ain't by just like Chav always say. I didn't do it, God did it. I just distracted you. That was my only mission. I just had to distract you long enough for you to slow down. So fast forward within my life, got into a lot of programs, got a Braille certification where I learned how to do books for the blind. This got me, after 22 years in prison, this got me recognized by the governor's mansion where I worked. This at the time was Governor Deal, was at the governor's mansion at the time, and he was big on reentry. And here it is that he used to ask me all the time, what can the state of Georgia do to help individuals coming out of prison? And here it is that I'm giving him my thoughts and my thinking. So after 23 years, in August 23rd, 2016, I got released within the world with a business. I had an active business. So I didn't have the economic disadvantages as most individuals coming out of prison. So here it is, I had to thrive and start building my business, building my Braille business with Authentic Braille Masters LLC, start growing, start doing business outside the United States, and then I wanted to come back within the prison system and help the individuals that I left. I wanted to be fruitful and multiply because the word was not mine. I had to give it. But then I understood that I had to put myself in different positions to get really work done within it. So I educated myself. I became a certified peer specialist in mental health and addictive disease. I went to school, the Morehouse School of Medicine, and graduated. And then things start happening for me to get back within the prison system. So it's this interesting program called the Forensic Peer Mentor Project that a lot of people don't know about in the state of Georgia. That this particular job is for individuals who had criminal justice lived experience and give them full-time pay to go back into the criminal justice system to offer help to individuals who either have mental health challenges or substance use disorder and help guide them from where they at into the community. Forensic peer mentors work in the prison system. We work in Department of Community Supervision, which is parole and probation. We work in accountability courts, mental health courts, and we do a lot of work within the state of Georgia. But I'm going to get back to me and Mr. Deal, Governor Deal. Here it is that he created, before he went out of office, an institution called Metro Reentry Facility in Atlanta, where it was built on the premises of helping individuals reenter, the most high-risk individuals that are returning back into the Atlanta area. This particular specialized prison will get communities in to help. Here it is, 2 years only out, on parole, where an individual cannot go back into prison when he was on parole, but they allowed me to work back in the Department of Corrections full-time at Metro Reentry Facility. You see, be fruitful and be multiplied. I gave the word to Governor Deal. This facility was built, and now I'm working in the same facility that I helped be fruitful and multiply. So I did that 4 years within COVID. Within COVID, helping men and women coming out, starting creating programs for individuals. Decided to go back to college. Now I attend Mercer University. Go Bears. I attend Mercer University. I'm getting my criminal justice leadership degree. And then next thing you know, as I was for the first time ever, well, let me back up a little bit. After doing 5 years, I petitioned the parole board to commute my sentence, to end my sentence. The parole board. This is something they don't really do. But I petitioned to them, and they commuted my sentence. I no longer have a life sentence. So my rights were restored. I voted for the first time last year. I went out the country to Guatemala. First time ever to being out the country, really seeing what the world had to offer. And then next thing you know, as I'm flying back to Guatemala, I get a call that said, hey, we created a position, a first position ever in state government for justice impacted individual. We want you to run the whole forensic peer mentor project in the state of Georgia. We want you to offer support and training. So now, I was awarded the state. Now I work for the state. I'm getting all my money back. And as they say, be fruitful and multiply. So now it is that I couldn't get out of prison, but now I go in any prison I want. Go to the front door, and they open it right on up. And the beautifulest thing is to help train individuals to go in the prison system. We're in 27 prisons now. We call it the Great Expansion. We're in 27. You have to think about it. This is 27 positions where individuals that have criminal justice lived experience, that are working and able to provide for their families. And to be able to be impactful to the individuals in there. Be fruitful and multiply. We're taking the message everywhere. And we trying to expand everywhere. So this I just wanted just to share y'all within this story of what the distraction that Chaplain Flynn gave. The distraction. You see how the distraction multiply? I'm married. I got a beautiful wife. I got a beautiful home. I'm very active in my community. I'm very active, helping individuals, mental health disabilities, intellectual disabilities, being very active within my community to help. Even I see a piece of trash in my neighborhood, because it hits a little different when you're paying property taxes. Huh? When you paying property taxes, you be like, wait, no, nah, hold on, man, what you doing? You know, it feel a little different. When I used to ride by trash, now, I stop out and get it. You know what I'm saying? No, because, hey, I'm paying tax dollars, and this is my community. But it all started for that distraction. And you see our distraction, so just like Chaplain Flynn said, you have to be careful who you standing beside. And I understand that we be down sometimes, but you'd be surprised if you just turn around and smile at the individual, that this individual could be contemplating suicide or contemplating doing something wrong or just contemplating. And I also would share this message just with our young people. You don't have to do what I do. You don't have to go through prison to be successful. Please don't take that message. You don't have to. You can be successful and be who you are, but us as a community, we really have to listen to our young people. I'm hearing too much us talking about young people, but we ain't bringing the young people up here to talk for themselves, because the one closer to the problem is closer to the solution. So we have to get our young people involved. We have to encourage them. We need to quit talking about them and include them. Include them in these conversations. Bring them up here. We gonna talk. If we talking one breath about a young person, we need to be bringing one up. If I say, hey, man, I feel like the young people, man, it seems like they losing their mind, I need to bring one up here that he ain't lost his mind or she ain't lost his mind. Because it's a lot. See, that's the thing. We don't see that. We just see the negative. But it's a whole lot of men and women out there that are doing good. I just this past summer, they had 430 men and women, men graduate, 430 men graduate from Morehouse College. Think about that. 430 black men graduated. So that dispelled. But see, I could tell you what Pookie and Ray Ray did real quick, but nobody could tell me that statistic. You see what I'm saying? And that's going all across the United States. So, in my closing, be intentional. Love yourself. Words are powerful. Just think about this. Words are powerful. And at times, you have to remember this. I'm going to leave you with this. Our bodies don't really know about the words that you're speaking. So if you're speaking negative, the body reacts. The body doesn't know. And it's like poking. You don't know. It's like cutting myself and hoping I don't bleed to death. Are you going to really play with the words that you do? That's why if you just think about it, spelling, putting a spell on you. Spelling. Just think, word, spelling. Be careful with your words and what you speak. At times, as they say in the Bible, the tongue can be life and death. And we got to start speaking life into ourselves, into others, even when they are looking like it's no help. Chaplain Flynn looking at men that say society is no help. But here it is. It's an individual that had a life sentence that is changing and impacting the world, all because of one man distracted me. Thank you.
Come on, give God another hand clap of praise. Man, it's hard not to almost just bust out and go to crying when I hear him talk now as opposed to the way he was talking when I met him. And I pulled this picture up on the computer. Was it today? And he said, "Oh, Chap, I want to take some pictures of how I looked back when you met me." He said, it brought back some memories of where I came from. And man, it's so many, and that's why I bring men here like this, and that's since I be in the men's prison more than women. I've actually encountered some women that I met since I've been doing chaplaincy, and sometimes you don't know who you're reaching. That's right. Amen. Sometimes you don't know, man. It's important that we be consistent, and I'll be honest with you. Sometimes what I say might offend somebody. You know what I'm saying? It might not make you feel good. But like I said the other day, I'm not trying to make you feel good. I'm trying to make you live good. And when he told me some of the things that God allowed to happen in his life, Braille, just and how much money he make just doing one book. See, he ain't going to all of that, and all of these other things, like he's still eating with Governor Deal. He can call him now if he wanted to. And I reflect back on this man was in prison saying some of the stuff that he told y'all. He was saying, "Man, I ain't working for free for nobody. You out of your..." and meant it too. Yeah. I mean, he was younger and smaller then, but you looking up at me telling me, "Man, you must be out your mind. You think I'm..." But, sometimes you just have to just keep on. And when I see potential in somebody, it's hard for me to give up on them. And that's what I be saying here in this church. It's some of our, not only young people, but some of our old people, older people. I see so much potential in you, man. But sometimes, because I'm human, I just say, well, if they don't want it, it just can't be wasting time, because some people just don't get it. They just don't get it. So, Laji, I want you to know, man, I sure appreciate you coming, sharing. And like he said, you don't have to get yours the way he got his. God can prevent you from going the route that he went. If you just listen to him. And that's the same thing my daddy told me. He said, them boys going to the chain gang. Y'all done heard me say this 1,000 times. Them boys you hang around, he said they going to and you keep hanging with them, you going to. And I go every day, but I'm the chaplain. Because he called it a distraction. I got a distraction. And it's hard to walk away from some people when they look like they're having fun. When they look like what they doing is more fun than what you doing, it's hard to walk away from Ray and Junebug and Scooter and them. When they talking about their mama and popping their lips and ain't nothing happening. You understand what I'm saying? They coming in when they want to and all that. It's kind of hard to walk when you're young. It's kind of hard to walk because that look like that's the life. But that is the express lane to failure. And so a lot of them guys, like he said, I didn't know them before they got in trouble, but I met them while they was in trouble. Because when the Georgia give you life, they mean for you to be in there the rest of your life. Yeah, but that don't have to happen to you. So, you don't get no more real than this man right here. And look what God is doing for him. I'm looking at him today. We going into prison. He going in there with his cell phone, and I can't even take mine in there. Yeah, we going into prison. He looking at his cell phone, showing me stuff that's happening in the Department of Correction before I even knew it. He said, yeah, chap, do you know so-and-so? He just got a promotion. I said, how you know this? Right here on my phone. I thought about Billy on Life. You know what I'm saying? How you know my name, Billy? It's right there on your shirt. Y'all, I'm sorry, y'all didn't see that. Those that's watching us on the web, this young man, he just gave it to you real. How God can cause you to be fruitful and multiply. Can you stand that distraction? Because what he was doing when I met him, his friends didn't even want him to come to church. They was getting on him, man, you going out there to listen to that. But he had to let his friends go because contrary to popular thought, a lot of people think it's easy to go to church in prison. No, it's not. Because it's a lot of distractions in there. But God is blessing him because he used that positive distraction to stop being bitter and make his life better. So for those of you that's watching and those of you that's here that's listening, let his testimony be a seed in your life where you will stop falling for the okie doke because the devil is trying to kill you. He don't care nothing about no woman, don't care nothing about no girl, no boy. Your tears does not move the devil at all. He wants you crying. He wants you hurt. But Jesus said, I came that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Thank you again, Laji. Thank you for tuning in to our service on tonight. And if you was really listening, not just heard him, but if you was really listening, he said something that's going to challenge you to listen to that positive distraction. And it could change the very days of your life. God bless you. Heaven smile on you. And may life's best be yours. Everybody stand. I don't know what your situation is. I don't know what the enemy is presenting to you tonight that's got you distracted.